You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. Alrighty, this week we are going to learn about and drink a special wine to celebrate a very special film. This weekend, the latest SOMM film, Cup of Salvation, premieres on the big screen in Los Angeles before moving on to other cities. This is an epic story, years in the making, and it takes us on an incredible journey to an ancient land. A land that may very well be the birthplace of wine. So in honor of Cup of Salvation, we are going to drink a wine from a place that is arguably the star of the film, Armenia. Armenia is a landlocked country with Georgia to its north, Turkey to the west, Iran to the south, and Azerbaijan on its eastern side. When I say the history of winemaking in Armenia is ancient, I mean ancient. This is supposedly where Noah, you know, with the ark, planted his vineyards when the great floodwaters receded. A 2011 archaeological discovery called the Areni 1 cave unearthed an ancient winery that dates back 6,100 years to around 4000 BC. They found a press, a storage vat, fermentation jars, and Vitis vinifera seeds and skins. For some context, this is about the same time that human beings invented the wheel. I love that we already had our fermentation process and our wine industry thriving before we figured out the wheel. Amazing. Some historians believe that winemaking in this part of the world goes back even further to the 8th century BC in the Iron Age, and that what is now the modern-day city of Yerevan was a winemaking hub. When you drink an Armenian wine, or a wine from any ancient wine region, it's good to remind yourself of the history and all of the tradition throughout the centuries that has led to the wine in your glass now, that you get to be a part of the story. Armenian winemaking continued to thrive throughout the Greek and Roman empires and through the Middle Ages. It's when we reached the Soviet period in 1920 that things really began to shift for Armenian wine. Grape growers were forced to focus more on brandy and bulk wine production to export to the USSR. Winemaking increased by 9 times during this period, and brandy production increased by 17 times. When the USSR fell and Armenia gained its independence in 1991, a new generation of winemakers could once again focus on quality wine production, revitalizing ancient soils, and bringing abandoned vineyards back to life. They were able to couple these centuries of tradition with modern winemaking techniques and create wines of elegance and beauty from native grapes like Areni and Voskihat. This is a wine that you can get at Costco for $15.99. This is the Karas Reserve Areni Sireni. So those are the two indigenous red grapes that are making up this wine. About 40% is the Areni grape or Areni Noir, and this is a grape that is so central to the Armenian winemaking industry. It's one of its most important grapes. Areni also argues a strong case for possibly being the grape that all other Vitis vinifera grapes are descended from, so that's pretty freaking cool. It's a variety that the finished wine is very dependent on the winemaker's vision. It can be made in a lighter style, it can be made into a more robust style. It also makes excellent sparkling wines. The Sireni grape, though, is very thick-skinned. It creates wines of deep pigment, powerful structure, firm tannin. It's often used in blends because of this really muscular structure. Karas means amphora in Armenian, as a nod to their traditional roots, and also because some of their wines are aged and or fermented in amphora to this day. The Armenian diaspora brought this family to Argentina, where they started making Argentinian wines. Karas, though, is a result of the family wanting to reconnect with their roots and make wines from their homeland. And so now an uncle and niece in this family are making these wines in the Ararat Valley of Armenia. This region sits under the gaze of Mount Ararat, which is a snow-capped, dormant volcano. So the vineyards here are planted on these very black volcanic soils that are very conducive to healthy vines and also make these wines of very distinct character. This region is very dry, and it has warm summers and then very cold winters. With this particular wine, all of the wine, so both of those grapes, are fermented in stainless steel tanks, but then the Areni is aged in amphora, whereas the Sireni is aged in Armenian oak, and then they're blended together. Diving into this wine, the color is, so already, from what I've learned about Sireni, I haven't had a lot of Sireni. Actually, I think this is my first Sireni. I've gotten to taste Areni a little bit. But for most people, they want to compare these grapes to grapes that they know. I just like to go on blind and get to know them without comparing them. But I can already see from what I've researched that this deep, beautiful magenta pigment with a lovely ruby rim is most likely gonna be from that thick-skinned Sereni grape. I opened this bottle yesterday because I wanted to get to know it a little before introducing it to you all, and I would say it benefited from a day of air. It's gotten so much more complex in the span of the last 12 hours. On the nose, you're getting all of these lovely berry fruits, red berry fruits, raspberry, red cherry, also blackberry. Wow, the savoriness is just really popping out. It was a lot of fruit yesterday, which was lovely, but now I have this really lovely savoriness popping out as well. Pomegranate notes, there's cassis, there's some florality as well, violet. There is a kind of garriguiness to this, something that's usually used to describe wines from southern France, southern Rhone, Provence, where all of these wild rosemary and other herb bushes and lavender. It's got this earthy forest floor hint to it as well. Black pepper, now it kind of has this meaty savoriness as well. Getting some baking spices from the oak as well. Beautiful nose. Medium plus acidity, medium to medium plus tannin. Nothing crazy. The Areni probably has more of the velvety, luscious fruit that is fleshing out all the structure from the Sereni. And yes, just bursting with ripe red berry fruit, cherries, cranberry, pomegranate again. Which is medium plus in body as well. It has lovely texture, but it's not heavy. It has that little lift to it thanks to the lovely acidity. Moderate to moderate plus alcohol, 14%, moderate. Nothing crazy. Getting a little more cedar on the palate, those dried herbs, lovely, the black pepper, a little bit of the florality. If I had to compare this to a grape that you might be familiar with, I would say, yeah, this is maybe similar to like a Rhone style wine, like a Côte de Rhone or Southern Rhone, but not. It has very distinct character. It feels wrong comparing it to something that it's not, because it's something that you just need to try. But this is a very exciting wine to have in my arsenal as the fall and winter arrive, because this is gonna be so good with those richer dishes, the stews, the roasts, the grilled meats, the braised meats. Oh my gosh. Great with mushroom dishes though. Anything with those lovely herbal components. For the vegetarian, since I just listed off a bunch of meat, this has enough acidity to stand up to tomatoes in some dishes. This could be really fun with like eggplant parmesan. I'd like to try that. Yeah, this is gonna be a really lovely go-to fall and winter red for me. I love the deal. Who's drinking that much Armenian wine? You know, it's funny that it's kind of a hole in a lot of people's knowledge. It's not on everybody's radar because it has such ancient roots. In fact, it could be the root of all the wine we drink today. Pretty awesome. But it's making its way back onto the global stage, which I'm very excited about. I love seeing all of these ancient wine regions get the attention they deserve because they've been doing such cool stuff, especially with their indigenous varieties, that we get to try something new that also is not new. It's incredibly ancient. But for us, Armenian wine's so new. This would be great to bring to a holiday party, a gathering with friends, because I guarantee you they have not tried an Armenian wine. If they have, awesome. But if they haven't, this is so unique. And it's not, you know, French varietals, it's not Cabernet Sauvignon, which I'm sure they can make some amazing cab down there, but they're staying true to their roots. And this is a beautiful example of some of the best grapes coming out of Armenia. Areni, Sereni. Moral of the story is, though, we need to be drinking more Armenian wine. We need to be drinking more wine from all over the world and expanding our knowledge. This is a prime example of what I say every week on BYOB. Keep exploring and trying new wines. Just expands your palate, expands your knowledge. Why would you want to limit yourself? Also, make sure you head over to sommfilms.com to watch the Cup of Salvation trailer and also to purchase your tickets before they sell out. This is an amazing story, over 6,000 years in the making, and it belongs on the big screen. And so, until our next wine, keep exploring and trying new wines. Cheers.